Hello, dear Starshines. Christina here with with Light Body Academy. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. I'm going to pause here and give everybody a moment to come on. I'm kind of about 5 minutes late, so I'm just going to chill out while everybody joins me. Welcome, 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 everybody. Go ahead and say hi. Let me know you're here. Love to see you guys. It's another lovely day for a chat. So if you guys notice, there's some smoke going here. It's I'm burning some sage just to bless this process and honor the air element and honor the and just call in, that space where we can speak and hear and receive clearly ideas and thought forms and pretty much pave the way for us to share in a liberated perspective to those topics and issues that are really significant for us star seeds, way showers, new paradigm visionaries. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina, and I'm an acceleration expert. And I do, to the best of my ability, talk about these topics and issues, conveying a liberated perspective to these challenges that we face on a daily basis. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I'm going to erase my board here because I'm going to draw a little bit today. Make sure I clear a good spot. Yep, here we go. I'm clearing a good spot. I have my big board. I don't know if you guys, I suppose those in the academy know about my big board. So this is the board that I had in my office in Colorado when I was doing these out of Colorado. And it's one of my favorite creation tools because it's a great big space to have my thoughts and draw things out. And I encourage you guys, even if you don't care about sharing your ideas, it really helps us on as a multidimensional to flush out things that we're thinking about or that have our awareness. Sometimes what happens is that it's like a certain part will drop into our awareness, but really our subconscious is trying to take us deeper, deeper, deeper to look deeper, deeper, deeper into these pieces. And and they're not linear. So oftentimes the act of drawing something out will help you flush out what's trying to reveal itself from within you. And this is a wonderful technique for bridging the linear and the abstract in our awareness. Okay. So there we go. Hello, 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 dear sister Cameron and Carol and Joanne and Kitty. Hello, darling. Cameron says, good morning. I would love to bring up the topic of dance today, if that feels aligned for you. Is there a more multidimensional perspective on the healing that can flow through dance? Absolutely. Absolutely. Dancing. Yes. All right. We can add that to the topic list. Absolutely. And we talk about dancing. We haven't talked about it in quite some time, so I'm happy to revisit the topic. I know when I was doing more in-person intensives, we talked about dance a lot because that was one of the tools that we would use to help tune and center people while they're in their multidimensional state. Yeah, so I'm happy to talk about that. Let me see. The other things, some of the other stuff that I want to talk about today is dear sister Rini was asking about, I was talking about the God poison and, the recycling of souls and stuff like this in a couple chats ago. And so her response was, well, so who is the creator of all creations? Like, who was the first? If we are all one, et cetera, et cetera. So she just wanted me to dive into that a little bit so she can reconcile some of these pieces that have come up for her. And then the additional piece that I want to talk about, I posted to the Rise group and to the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group on Facebook. And I also posted this to our Telegram group, Multidimensional Human, and that is cryptocurrency, data mining, and the next level of life force economy. So I don't know about you guys, but cryptocurrency, I have a lot of friends who are totally into cryptocurrency, into investing, into, and they're making a lot of money at it. They're pretty successfully diving into the crypto market and making, way more than 10% on their investments, So every time I ask a friend of mine who's really into it, what is cryptocurrency? What is crypto mining? Like, what is it? None of them can actually give me a thorough answer. That's usually what the answer I get is, well, I'm not really sure, but I'm figuring it out. And you kind of trade it like a stock. It's a commodity, right? And I never really understood what data mining was all about either. But the video that I posted in both that I'm talking about, that I posted in the Rise group and in the I know I'm just going on my tangent here, and in the Telegram group, was a woman who comes from the educational standpoint as a parent, researching gaming and impact investing and stuff like this. And this whole interview is about resourcing from child labor and stuff like this. And so I listened to her interview and I realized she's talking about cryptocurrency data mining. I sort of understand what she's talking about, but then I started to actually research the pieces that she was referencing, such as the hexman equation. If you guys haven't done this, I suggest you guys get a pen and paper out and write down these pieces if you're interested in understanding what cryptocurrency is all about. The hexman equation, there's something called impact investing. And I don't know if you can Google these things, because I don't use Google or mainstream browsers at all because of the censorship issue. So when I'm doing these searches, I'm doing these searches on censorship-free software and browsers. So for me, that's Brave and DuckDuckGo. Those are my two go-tos. So you may get different results if you Google this stuff, but maybe not, right? So I started to research these different pieces that she was talking about, and it started to bring the whole landscape of what it's all about. And then I realized, oh, okay, this is a whole nother level of life force economy. And that life force economy means commoditizing human attention, human focus. Okay. I know. So we know this already exists in the energy world. Like, we have people who are humans who are vampiric, right? They trigger emotional responses and they feed off of it. Then we have these interdimensional beings, parasites that we know about. It's like when we're feeling in a really weak and vulnerable state, they can just suck the luge right out of us. And there's a whole luge feeding arena. That's an entire system that goes into the galactic levels and beyond. So when because I'm aware of the kind of interdimensional economy that's based on life force on that level, I was able to really understand what crypto mining and crowdsourcing and gaming is all about, like where investors are taking it to a whole nother level. So I encourage you guys to check out these pieces. And what really brings this whole thing together, which I also posted the video on this, is by Rosa Corey. She's passed now. I think she passed in May of 2020, but more than 10 years ago, she was laying out the game plan of this hijacking, this corporate hijacking of our systems. Everything that we're watching unfold with the COVID crisis and, all the different in the synchronized messaging that goes throughout the world and the implementation of these policies and stuff. It's like they're following the playbook that she laid out in the video that I posted there. Okay. So this all ties together into that next level human engagement with AITI, technical intelligence. And for me, this is something really important for us to talk about. And I'm going to get to those other issues too, but this is important for us to talk about because the last wave of the Mayan calendar of human evolution, the consciousness evolution to start to unfold within our subconscious, within our galactic being, was the wave of technology. And that wave began in 1999. So when you fast forward 23 years, almost 20 something years, and see where we are right now, you can get the idea that it's not just human technology. We're talking about us altering our consciousness so we can actually interface with maybe transgalactic technology is what we're talking about. Okay. So for me, this fascinates me. I'm just like, we as starseeds, as humans that are awoke, this is the next red pill for us to take. So we can actually unplug from the control systems where the TIAI thing is used in a way that's very malicious and used in, or let me say it a different way, that it's used in the way in the infrastructure of life force prana economy, right? But instead, for us starseeds, we have the capacity to liberate that kind of intelligence from that level of slavery, of structured force and slavery like this, and actually reimagine how it can interact with our lives in a way that enhances life, in a way that feeds life. Okay, so this means there's a lot of potentials here. And I'm also seeing why the millennial generation is the key generation to this next step forward and to the next red pill for all of us to take. And maybe this is an avenue that's only interesting to me. And you guys let me know if you can care less or if you just hear me speaking Greek here, because I'm totally stoked reading and watching the different videos and researching what I'm finding on this. Because it's also technology, it's also a field that is brand new, which means it is ripe opportunity. It's in prime investment opportunity for anybody who's awake to it, So this COVID crisis, which is really a massive economic shift in resources, can be reclaimed by us, the everyday person, by reclaiming and taking back in the role of envisioning of how AI and TI is going to unfold in our reality. You see what I'm saying? So if we really claim that and invest ourselves in it, there's prime opportunity for us to correct or maybe modulate that shift of economic power, So for me, that's interesting. All right. Thank you, Kitty, for letting me know. And Carmen says, very happy to be a millennial. Yes. Yeah. There's so many conflicting accounts of that millennial generation, especially in older generations, because actually I say late indigos are really edgy. The late indigos being the ones born in the 70s and 80s were really, really edgy. And we are the ones that experienced the old world, what millennials would consider old world. And we're experiencing a new world in the sense that we're technologically proficient. We know how to use these technical apparatuses for our, we know how to use technology and all that stuff. But also we grew up still with like the rotary telephone and what it is, and, the phone that had a cord going to the wall, and you had a really long one so you can have a private conversation, walk into the other room. It's like we had that more analog technology in our upbringing. So it's like, for us, the previous generation to the millennials, I feel like we're a lot more dangerous in the sense that we remember how it used to be, versus the millennials have a very framed up, controlled upbringing in what they were exposed to. And this goes from, ecological issues, this goes through, different kind of conditionings in our school. My children, actually, in their school career, their school system decided to stop teaching cursive writing, which is that has had a huge impact, in my opinion, on their learning and them getting to know themselves and the style of their learning, So, and because I am the way I am, because I would handwrite notes to them all the time in cursive, they were forced to learn how to read cursive writing because I would always leave notes for them in that way, So there's a lot of differences between these generations, and this is where we need to come together, the millennial, and I don't know what you would call my generation, but we need to come together and let's start comparing notes and start recognizing where there's certain overlaps and where the discrepancies are, because this will help us bridge our perceptions and our world. We can bridge those two viewpoints. There's more than two. Like, we can bridge those generations' viewpoints and create a more well-rounded perception of the human experience in the world right now. So, so that's, an avenue that is inevitable for us to go down, right? It's an avenue that's inevitable for us as a species. And of course, us starseeds are going to be the ones that are trailblazing that. Okay, and this also overlaps, reclaiming this technology also overlaps with us reclaiming our dream time. Okay, so dream time, let me step back a little bit and explain what I call dream time. All right, so dream time is the part of us that exists outside time and space. It's the part of us that exists beyond the ego personality of who we think we are. Dream time is us stepping out of our individuation and going into an ocean of consciousness, an ocean of you can say gridworks, stellar networks, this kind of thing. The thing is that we are so narrowed in our waking world to what reality is. Everything that exists that we cannot address in our waking world, it's energy, and it's exchanging. We are surfing in that energy. So what can't unfold in our waking world has to unfold in our dream time. So this energy is alive and inside of us, right? And if we don't give it acknowledgement and expression in our waking world, it has to get acknowledged and expressed in our dream world. Okay, so that's one layer of the dream time. The next layer of understanding of what our dream time is that we are in nesting dolls of reality. Uh-oh, that's not going to come out enough, is it? Let me get a darker color. Darker color. Here we are. Okay. So, guys, remember when I would draw the dimensions like this, yeah? This outer ring is maybe calling it the cosmic consciousness, the cosmic arena. What is outside of that is your quantum levels, the quantum levels of who you are. Okay. And this covers dear sister Rini, what she was asking about, like, what's real creator, right? Okay, so then once you start giving quantum a finite refinement, like a defining it, putting in it, like being able to put your finger on it and describe, like to perceive it in a certain way, that creates a plane with edges, a finite plane. And that next layer in is the galactic mind. So you go from your cosmic level of who you are into a more of a galactic level of who you are. Okay. So we have our galactic level of who we are, and then that gets refined even more, like finite space. The infinite space becomes rarefied, and then in that, the wavelength that would be going infinitely starts narrowing into more of a form. In this case, it's the all that is, the oneness consciousness, the isness. And when our conscious mind can touch the isness experience, that is the doorway to us reaching our infinite nature. Okay. So when you ask, like, who was the original creator, you are, right? When we touch it with our consciousness in this biosuit, in this form, we experience it as ourselves. Now, there's layers beyond this that we can touch with our awareness, but that's, this is the language to describe this is really not very defining, right? It's really, really difficult. It's something that is a feeling. So you can choose a bunch of words, and it's not about the words, it's about the feeling the words elicit. That's the only style of communication that can express these kinds of things. Okay, that's beyond this cosmic arena. So we have our galactic levels, we have our oneness, and then we have all those other inner nesting dolls of who we are. right? And right down to the who we think we are, egoic level in this 3D reality in a physical body. Okay, so all these nesting dolls exist, though our conscious mind is really only aware of who we are when we look in the mirror, until you start researching or experiencing reviving mystery school teachings that are activating to your DNA dance. And then therefore you're activating your DNA to be able to expand what kind of consciousness you can imbue yourself with. Okay. So Dreamtime is all these other nesting dolls. It's this field within fields within fields within fields where all these other nesting dolls exist. And in Dreamtime, it's a doorway for you to have access to all these levels. And the important thing to know about that is that the outer nesting doll informs the inner nesting doll. So the outer nesting doll being the Milky Way galaxy, the Madre de Dios, the Mother of God, and there's a reason why we call her Mother of God, right? So the Madre de Dios, energy, frequency, perception of consciousness, is an informing force to the all that is consciousness that we maybe would call God. Okay, so and then the God and the goddess consciousness together informs that next nesting doll, which is the stellar networks, which is the frequency of who you are. This is your soul song. Okay, you are a child of the universe. See, that's the deeper meaning in that statement. You are a child of the universe. You are a child of the God, goddess energy, male, female energies on a cosmic and galactic level. Okay, the word's not confined, but defined by a frequency. Okay, so all these nesting dolls come together to create your here and now moment. Our here and now moment can express all these things if we allowed a collective field to be so that can accept it. But because we're in a collective field that can't accept all these levels, right? We have no choice but to live out these parts of ourselves while in dream time. Now, the cool thing is that once we start engaging our dream time, once we start engaging this part of ourselves through that doorway of dream time, we can start reclaiming certain patterns and pull specific things that our soul wants, that our heart wants, our heart calls. We can directly pull that energy through the dream time field and start informing ourselves in the here and now of that energy. This is how you create. This is how you dream a world into being. This is how you dream your reality into being. Okay. But what's happened here is that there's a collective field with lots of gridworks are in play that hold this collective field to a very narrow bandwidth of perception. Okay. And even though we are expanded individually, when we're in a collective that's not expanded, right, we are not able, we feel that we can feel the confinement of that, right? And this is where we start going into our own personally cultivated space, right? You have your massage place, you have your bodywork place, you have your altar space, you have the place where your favorite hiking place, your favorite place in nature to dwell, your favorite place in your house to dwell, right? So this is you creating additional nesting dolls of reality so you can experience your own expanded state until you start getting with other groups, other collectives that are similarly expansive. Now, all of a sudden, you guys are, together in a collective way, and you can pull even more things through for each other and for yourselves. So us getting together in groups is essential right now so we can actually redefine and even anchor in a new kind of collective field. And these activations that I've been doing for so long is a part of that kind of process. I know it seems like I'm bouncing, but it really does all tie together, I promise. Let me go here. All of these nesting dolls are fabrics that weave together through our here and now. So when I say it like that, that means that I can just turn my awareness a little bit, change the orientation of my awareness just a little bit to one direction or to or degree in another direction. When I do that, I can actually tune in to the different threads of each of these levels of who we are. So I can simply shift my awareness a little bit and go into my galactic mind and start bringing forward information from that level of who I am. Okay. And that's because the fabric of all these nesting dolls is alive in the room around you. It's all it's woven all through your body. It's woven all through your reality. So once we free our minds up out of the belief systems of those gridworks of the collective, it's just a matter of changing our awareness in one direction or another to tune into different things. Okay. In the old paradigm, what we would do would be maybe start doing a breathing exercise, call on sacred space, maybe surround ourselves with Wetakocha, set out an altar. You know what I mean? We would do things like this. But in the new paradigm, it's much more accelerated. So we don't necessarily need to do all of that to tap in. It just takes our awareness and our focus. So we can simply use our will to shift our focus, and then our awareness will broaden and expand to that channel that we're willing to focus on. Okay, to that fabric. That fabric is massive. Hold on a second, dear. Let me check in. So Lisa says Xennial equals not X, not millennial, but rather an in-betweenish generation. Okay, so she's talking about, because I don't know what generation I am. I know I'm not a millennial, and maybe I'm an Xer, but I don't even know what Xer means. Okay, and then Beverly says, that's why a lot of the mainstream law of attraction principles are false. Yes. Okay, so she's talking about that greater collective, right? So, so here's a magical thing when you get a bunch of people that's expanded in awareness together in a group. When I studied in my shamanic studies, when I was being formally trained, we got together and we would do something called fire ceremony. Now, I've told this story many times before, so I apologize if you have to go through it again. But it's a really important piece. It's a wonderful, I love stories that I can share that other people are in participation with me, where I'm just not all by myself experiencing it. You know what I mean? So that's why I like these particular stories. Okay. Anyway, so when you are with a group of people whose consensus is that something is that, that is in a very expanded state, like you guys are in consensus and awareness of all of who you are on these different levels, right? Okay. So when you do that as a group, you can actually change the laws of reality. You can change the very principles that which our reality is built upon. Okay. So what we would do as part of our training was to do a fire ceremony every new and full moon to feed our transmission. So we would get together with different masters and different teachers of our lineage, and they would give teachings and transmissions, energetic transmissions that were like, so millennials might call this as encodements. They would download certain kinds of encodements to activate our DNA template. Okay, so we can awaken our light body, awaken our consciousness of our light body, and step out of the human prison. So we would get these initiations over and over and over and over again. And after each time, we would go and take them into fire ceremony and use fire to feed these codes that we were given. Now, the actual process of fire ceremony is fascinating, because what you do is that you find a rhythm via hand or rattle or some whatever instrument, and you sing. You create sacred space. You create another sacred space within that, and then you create another sacred space within that, where it's just you and the fire, and you sing to the flames, you sing to the fire devas, you play music and give offerings to the fire devas. And as you do that with your prayers and blessings and love and gratitude, the fire will start to shift. And you can tell when it shifts, because for me, I would see like the light and the fire would actually change into a different kind of hue. And I would actually feel like the burning inside of me, but not painful. I would actually like feel like the fire was in me. And at that point, that's called taming the flames. So you can actually put things in the fire and it won't burn unless you want it to, unless that's the intention. And okay, so you can do things like that. This is taming the flames, making the fire friendly. And we have done this with large groups of people, where you can touch the flames and you'll feel the heat of the flame, but it will not burn you. You can put things in the fire and it'll only burn what it is that you're asking, what you're offering to the fire to burn. Okay. Okay, so the actual expression of the fire element would change to be in alignment with our will, with our focus, with our intent. You see what I mean? Now, if someone didn't have the training that we had and saw what we were doing, they would imagine, I can't imagine, it just wouldn't compute in their brain what they're watching happen. There would be something, their mind would go crazy with, why is that even possible? Okay, but when you have a group of people who are in that consensus point, all of a sudden the miraculous connection between us and the elemental world becomes very tangible, because that's our focus, that's our will, that's our intent. Okay, so the more groups that we get together that can do this, the more we're going to be shaking up this density, this false artificial grid work that is holding our collective in this mass hypnosis state. Okay. So bouncing back to Dreamtime. Okay. How this particular piece I'm talking about, the consensus, how we think, how we believe, that collective agreement. The reason why this is important for Dreamtime is because when you are introducing technology into the experience of beliefs, consensus, now if everything you've been exposed to has been carefully curated to cultivate you to have certain opinions, to cultivate you to have certain thoughts and attitudes about something. That means that's a technical intelligence in charge of cultivating your mind and your awareness. It's no longer Mother Nature and your experience with the elementals that are giving input into your stimulus. Okay. Instead, it's a technical reality that is coded by somebody. Okay. And it's all orchestrated with specific intent. You see, you guys see how it all comes together now. Okay. So, so when we have a generation of people that have been taught, for example, let's talk about, the ecological crisis that we're in. When you have 3 generations, I'm in that generation too, of people that believe that the ecosystem, that global warming is happening and the ecosystem is going to collapse, right? And that we need to do something about it. This is something that hits a core aspect of our being, which is Mother Nature, Pachamama. We are connected to her, right? There's a core innate sense of the alarming nature of that, right? But at the same time, it's incepting ideas into our thought forms on who's to blame, what can we do about it. You know what I mean? There's already framed up ideas handed to us, and we've had 3 generations that have been trained this way. And here's the thing. So the ecological crisis, the climate change, the ship has already sailed on that. Okay. Our climate crisis is not going anywhere. We already are seeing the changes, and the changes are just going to ramp up. They're just going to keep ramping up. So because of our conditioning that we've been exposed to, we are in fear. We are in crisis mode inside, because something must be done. And instead of us being empowered by a narrative, which is really all we need to do is reclaim our connection with Pachamama, reclaim our connection with nature, reclaim our role as stewards of the earth. All we need to do is reclaim our role as stewards of the earth, and we can co-create absolute magic with Mother Nature. And those of us who have gathered together in expanded collectives and experienced something like as simple as fire ceremony, we know that that is the truth. We know that we can regenerate with our earth. We know that we can regenerate with nature. But that's not the narrative that's being said. Right now, the narrative that has already been seeded and set up in our consciousness over these 3 generations, right, is that there's a climate crisis and greed doesn't care, right? And so we are being set up to demand action. And believe me, guys, they already have an action plan put in place, and it's been put in place for decades. So it's using our very nature against us to make choices that are actually in their narrative. It's called the Delphi method, guys. So if you want to look that up, it's called the Delphi method by the Rand Corporation. And and the whole reason why I recognize this, because this is something my mom was an expert in, and I had no idea until I read this website. My mom was an educator. Okay. She ran a business school. She trained populations how to get out of poverty through business skills. Okay. This was the school system that she designed as a director of education and dean of students. And I remember her talking multiple times, strategizing a conversation, a difficult conversation that she was going to have. And the whole basis of her strategy was to figure out how to navigate that conversation so that person thought the predetermined thing that she wanted them to choose. The whole thing was how to get them to think that it was their idea. So they would passionately choose that option that she already had planned. Okay. Now, I was a kid. I didn't think that was a big deal. I just thought, wow, Mom, you're real smart. I just thought she was smart. But then come to realize this is actually a mind control technology that has been implemented on the masses since the 50s. The 50s, guys. So that means generation after generation after generation in our school system has been cultivated and very carefully steered by curated content. So it's in our textbooks, it's everywhere. And the whole idea is that they study you, they study your nature, they ask you what your visions are and what your ideas are, and they use your own visions and ideas against you to steer you towards the direction, towards the choice they want you to make. Okay, so that's why I want you guys to take this red pill and look at what I'm talking about with this cryptocurrency data mining thing. Okay, that's the doorway in a massive freaking rabbit hole, and it's all documented right in front of you. You know what I mean? These are real resources. These are real money investors. These are real billionaires investing in this technology. Blockchain is a huge piece to it. You know, I didn't understand blockchain either until I watched that video and started researching what she was talking about. Now I get it. I totally get it. And it is an ultimate tracking system. It's commodifying every aspect of your human need. Every aspect, it's commodifying. So this takes the straw man birth certificate game to a whole nother level, Okay. So there you go. That's that in a handbasket. All right. So the good news is that connecting this into Dreamtime is that we can retake control. Okay. So this curated exposure to video gaming, to different kinds of learning tools that are using video gaming technology. This is their attempt to thicken the collective shield, the collective consciousness, so we can't get out of a certain level of our, certain part of our dream time. They want to keep us in this narrow bandwidth in our dream time, so we don't actually, to me, this is what the way I would word it. The agenda cuts us off from the true nature of our dream time to our true infinite connections, and it fills it up with all this noise from the electronic world, from the video games, stuff like this. I'm sure you guys have had this experience where you got captivated by a video game for an hour or 2 or 3, and then you're going to sleep, and in that space in between sleeping and waking, either in the morning or in the evening, you're actually playing the game in your head. Who's experienced that? Okay. This is what I'm talking about. These really deeply immersed computer interactions carry over into the dream space. And what I'm cautioning you guys is that you don't have to be a victim to this at all. Reclaim your dream time, reclaim who you are on these other levels, and it won't matter what they do, what kind of technology you're exposed to. You know who you are on these levels. You know who you are beyond your face. You know yourself as an infinite being more than the character that looks in the mirror, right? Okay, so this is yet just another reason why it's so essential to paying attention to your dream time and reclaiming that and understanding who you are on those levels. Now, coming up in, I've been asked to do an advanced training. Hello, darlings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So, hold on. There's a couple of comments here. Dear Comment says, yes, about video games and Dreamtime. I feel the same way about cartoons. Yeah, man. I watch cartoons. I loved cartoons when I was a kid, but actually back then they only played them on Saturday mornings. The Smurfs and Minotaur and it's crazy because a lot of the plots in those child shows actually have merit in the here and now. But then it was more like sci-fi kind of made up stuff, but it actually has a parallel. All right, Gina says, geez, I totally spaced and forgot what time it is. Yeah. Well, that resistance there. Simpsons, etc. And yeah, welcome. All right. So yeah, and Simpsons is huge in the collective because anytime there's a major event, some brilliant mind can trace it back to a Simpson episode. All right. Okay. Let me get back to, so where was I? I was at the place of, yeah. So I've been asked to do an advanced training for the 9-dimensional, activation work, and I'm calling it a teacher training or a facilitator training. So I'm mentioning this to you guys because we're about to open up the registration for that, and this all ties into these pieces here, in that the more on a collective level we are activated, we are expanded to our activated levels. Okay, the more we do this on a collective level, the more power we have to reclaim the dream space, to reclaim the collective grid works. We can push these false grids out, no problem, waking up. So a lot of false grids are truly falling away, but we have a part that can contribute to the expedition to expedite the falling away of those grids. Okay. And the 9D activation process, I feel, is a wonderful tool, a very powerful tool for you guys to have in your arsenal of abilities to wake this up. Because what happens every time we do a multidimensional activation, every human being that has been activated on that level resonates with the activation process. That's why the process gets easier and easier and easier as the years have gone by, because more thousands and thousands of humans have been exposed and are integrating with it. So this is an advanced training that I was asked to do. And I want to invite this to you guys because the training, whether you're interested in the dimensions or not, is kind of besides the point. Really, what that class is about is how to work with the unseen, how to work with these threads, these strands of these multidimensional strands that weave the fabric of our reality together. So it's all about the mastery, learning how to work with those strands to reweave the fabric to your own design, reweave the fabric to your intent, to your vision. Okay. And then of course, activating a group of people to add their weaving into that as well. So as we do that, we can create a really strong collective resonance that is impenetrable to this kind of mind manipulation, to this kind of life force harvesting. Okay. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be, it's anytime. I think either tomorrow or the day after, it's going to start getting released, and you guys need to check that out because I think there's only like 10 or 12 spaces or something like this. So if you see that ad, or not the ad, but if you see the posting for the for the advanced training or the teacher training for the multidimensional lenses, that's what it's, this is what it's about, those pieces right there. So we can do this, guys. We have the ability. We are here for these moments. This is how we serve as a benefit to humanity. Our skills are beyond what the normal human family embraces. It doesn't mean that we're outcasts. It doesn't mean that that means we just are the black sheep. No. It means that we have been called into this reality by let's say supernatural forces. Our soul have been called into this reality to be who we are. We said yes to that. Okay, we said yes to being here for this time and doing what we do in this matrix. So everything about who we are is, we have these abilities for this reason, so we can do what we do. and do our part in reclaiming the reality. Okay. And coming into ritual and ceremony, tying it into the dance piece, right? There is oh my gosh, so many decades of research on that, on physical movement with moving of energy. And I'm trying to remember the woman that that really spearheaded a static dance out of San Francisco. I can't remember her name now. I can see her face, but I can't see her name. Anyway, so she did this beautiful, beautiful exploration for decades. And she realized that there's different rhythms that our body can express. And the different rhythms, when we move and express each of these rhythms in a particular sequence, that actually unlocks energy that has been locked up in our tissue and locked up in deep in our subconscious. And we can have these massive ecstatic experiences, releasing old traumas from even lifetimes ago, just by moving along with these different rhythms. So movement of the body is one of those alchemical processes that is really, really powerful. African shamanism, the sangomas, they use movement a lot in the rituals and ceremonies, because it really is profoundly powerful. And each ancestral line has its own rhythm, has its own dance. Okay, so you may notice that there's certain dance moves that you love, 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 that feel amazing. And I would propose to you to consider that perhaps that is an ancestral frequency. That's an ancestral dance move that you're doing that has that connection for you. We have all sorts of sacred dance, tribal dance. And you notice each region has its own flavor. So Celtic style tribal dancing is very different than African style tribal dancing, which is very different from Australian Aboriginal tribal dancing, which is very different from the Asian and the Himalayas, and so on and so forth. Each of them have a very specific kind of flavor to them. Like some are on the downbeat, the movements are on the downbeat, others the movements on the upbeat. Some are on the free 3/4 count, some are on the 4/4 count, some do the 3/3 count. So there's all these frequencies that have a physical expression that we would call dance. And dancing, you don't have to be informed. You don't have to be educated necessarily in tribal dancing. You just need to be willing to do it. And that means you're putting on some music that has particular flavor for you, feeling for you, and you can use your focus and intention to dedicate that dance to something, to something in your well-being, to something for the world. There's for example, say you are you just woke up to some kind of a collective expression that's stuck in you. Like there's a collective expression around, or let's say the anxiety around COVID, right? Every time there's a new lie variant, a new lie put forward. And when I say lie, I'm talking about it's something that is based in something, but it's completely twisted and distorted to fit an agenda. That's what I'm calling a lie. So a new wave of narrative that is triggering and traumatizing. Say you're getting struck by that. Okay, you can use dance to get that energy to move out of you. So you put in the right flavor of music, and then you let your body just follow your body in the movement that it wants to move. And you can actually bring that trauma up and completely discharge it from your being by simply your intent and your focus. Okay. I also encourage people to use dance in the past to recall your dream time, to work out the energies of your dream time. So you know how I was talking about there's this very narrowed bandwidth that we consider the human realm, when really it's super expansive and beyond, it goes all the way into the quantum levels. Just as most humans think and operate in this little tiny, this narrow bandwidth, right? So when we're dreaming and we're actually in the quantum, and we're bringing forward frequencies that have a really deep conflict with the human collective that we're in, oftentimes we will experience that as a nightmare, or we'll experience this in some sort, we'll experience the trauma drama that is the conflict to that energy more strongly than the actual frequency download itself. So you can actually take dynamics from your dream time that in your awareness, whether you have the feeling, have the story, or you have a glyph or whatever that you did, you can focus that energy in your body and find the rhythm, find the movement that allows it to move through. And then you just pretty much, you separate the veils of that collective frequency, and then now you can directly download with your awareness, download with your focus that that frequency that your spirit was bringing to you. I hope this makes sense the way I'm saying it. So the physical movement is awesome, and physical movement without the use of your eyes just takes it to a whole nother level. When I was doing in-person workshops, one of the exercises that I would do with people to help them get out of the narrow bandwidth of who they think they are is to experience running while blindfolded. You may wonder, like, what the heck, right? But it really works. It helps us let go of this gripping. We don't even realize that we're so engaged with the visual world. We actually grip control in certain ways with our movements and stuff like this. But when you don't have any visual data sets and you have to rely on the data sets of your physical body and your proprioception, which is the parts of your nervous system that tell your body where your body part is in space and time, right? So you have to change your focus into dealing with those data sets, working off of those kinds of data sets so you can move. At first, people are blindfolded with a mindfold, which means there's no peeking. It's like it blocks out all photonic light from the eyes and the pineal gland and the whole upper area of the head. And then, at first people are like, they're gripping for life. They're terrified to take a step. The next thing we'll do an exercise of dancing with a partner like that. And then a little bit looser. And then we'll do another exercise of following the energy of your partner. And, they'll get a little bit looser. And then we'll have the exercise of walking down the driveway, and then walking backwards down the driveway, and then running down the driveway. Eventually, people do get comfortable enough to run blindfolded. This is a major liberation for your mind, for your perceptions, to be able to experience this. So if you can do the dancing stuff with the blindfold and add even other people into the mix, then you're just taking the transformative potential to a whole nother level, right? So, and actually I'm looking forward to doing in-person stuff again, because I feel like this piece of the puzzle, we need to start weaving this back in again in groups. And there's some jewel that the telluric realm has to offer us, the telluric intelligence of our physical body, I feel. Okay, let me get back to our dear sister Beverly says, yesterday I watched a video of Elon Musk answering a question on metaverse. His answers were in a quote, we're in a metaverse within a metaverse within a metaverse, similar concept. Yes, it is. Exactly. That's exactly right. And honestly, many people are in a simulation within a simulation within a simulation. You guys, have you ever had the experience of waking up out of a dream, thinking you're awake, just to wake up out of that dream to realize, oh, you weren't awake at all? Similar kind of thing. Okay, these gridworks that are getting put in place or that have been put in place go deep. See, what happened, the reason why it's so detrimental for our history to be taken away from us is because we don't have a perspective of the kinds of technologies, the kinds of things that we are experiencing that are informing our reality. They're actually shaping our reality with interdimensional technology. And this is why we need to wake up. This is why this next level of red pill needs to happen, because we need to understand that technology is billions upon billions of years old. It's just not this century. It's just not the previous 2 centuries, okay? It is something that has been around for a long, long, long time. And if we had the truth spoken to us about our history and who we really are, we would have a completely different relationship to technology, because we would understand it more for what it is, okay? Dear Sister Tammy says trance dance is remarkable. Yes, yes, yes. So dear Sister Tammy is tapping on the trance dance experience. So when you have, like, all you need to do is have an altar to open up the, portal to the realms and the different elementals, and dedicate a dance to them. And you're going to have all kinds of beings kind of showing up for the party. And it's amazing. And this is where I feel like the millennial generation and younger is brilliant, because they're actually able to take digital platforms such as dubstep, EDM, and stuff like this. They're able to take digital platforms and allow that digital platform to serve as a tool to ecstatic experiences. Ecstatic experiences is something that is a human right. It's essential to our nature. Our ecstatic experience is us. This is us experiencing source creative energy. This is source consciousness energy we're experiencing when we're in an ecstatic state, when we're in an orgasmic state. Okay. So trance dancing is fabulous. It's amazing. Okay. But also know that if we're not, that there are beings that are interested in harvesting this energy too. So we need to be purposeful, mindful about what we're doing with that energy. That's okay. So this is something that we're learning, because so in the beginning, I think so I was a participatory in the beginning of the trance dance exploration in the late 90s. Well, just late 80s, 90s. Maybe dating myself a little bit. And that was in the platform of what was known as raves, right? So only thing is about the rave scene, back then, it was filled with toxic sexual exploitation, lots of drugs, ecstasy, like all kinds of stuff. So that kind of trance dancing got super distorted. But there was some spiritual movement out of Goa, India, which was brilliant. And that was what happens if we trance dance without any kind of substance abuse at all. And that's where they discovered it's fucking magic. And then that spread in the party scene all over the place. And now we have I can't remember what they're called. It's a certain kind of dance that they call it, where you're welcome. It's I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember the name that's used, but there's a term that indicates that this dance party is a static dance party without alterations, without drug mind bending alterations and stuff like this. And I can't remember the word for it, but there is a word that's been designated for that kind of experience. All right, dear, let's see. Let me go back to Cameron says, yeah. Thank you. And Carmen says, I've never heard of this. Yes, it was a bummer for decades and more. It was a burner. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm totally reading this wrong. I'm sorry, Gina. She says, yes, I was a burner for a decade or more. They can reach that, but often they are drunk and high while doing it. Yeah. And so when you're like that, it's not like drunk and high for drunk and high's sake, because you can be a masterful being in charge of your energy when under the influence of these kinds of things. It's just that no one really has command of themselves. They're just like blah, out of control. And when you're in that kind of out of control state, like out of personal awareness control state, then you're easily fed upon. That luge is yummy, and there's lots of beings that push the buttons that they need to keep you altered, to keep feeding off you. Anyway, let me get back to the young ones seem to not know how to let go without altering their mind state. Yes, this is anxiety. This is because they have been fed programs from a very young age. I'm talking about preschool age. They've been fed programs that trigger their endocrine system and keep them in a state of anxiety. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about, that 3-generational program in the educational system. So our kids' minds, we as parents are responsible for cultivating our children's minds. Okay. That is a human trait. That is a human principle that has been lost. A lot of parents, and this is why I say most people shouldn't be parents, just like most people shouldn't be dog owners or pet owners. I mean, I don't know if you guys can relate to me on that, but I've seen so many people have a dog just because it's a thing to have a dog. They're terrible dog owners. Their dog is full of anxiety and like, major, major, having major issues because their needs aren't being met. And the person doesn't really know how to get their needs met. Their own needs aren't met. So they can't do that for another being. So, but they do it just because it's a thing to do. Well, there's a lot of people who have kids because that's just a thing to do when they have no business having children at all. That's why the masses is okay passing off raising their children on the system. How many people, I know many mothers who would prefer to ship their kid off to daycare and have them deal with it, the school system deal with it versus them being home. They don't want to be home. They want to be in their careers. They want to pursue their passions. They're fine having, someone that's not them train their kids or take care of their kids from the time that they're an infant. There are many mothers that are like that. That's something that I never resonated with. I mean, as soon as I brought my daughter into the world, I knew that I was going to stay home. I was never going to go back to work again because from now on, this baby being that I just gave birth to is my full-time job. That's something that I just knew it with every ounce of my being. And my husband and I, we didn't even discuss it. It was just like an instant assumption. And we knew, that that's what it was for me. But there's a lot that don't have that. So when you have that kind of disconnect happening at a very young age, you're susceptible to whatever programming that you're given, and it's very carefully curated, the kind of material that you've been exposed to since the time of being a toddler. Just so that's a thing. This is why there's such a hijacking of our consciousness now, because everybody has been primed for it. For 3 generations, people have been primed for it. Oh my gosh, it's 1:06. I'm totally going over. All right, I'm going to read this last comment and then I'm going to start wrapping up. Okay, they're like both codependent owner and pet. They are, aren't they? Yes. Yeah, my kids introduced me to the concept of mental health, animal. No, wait, what do you call it? Mental health, they call it something, mental health. It's animals that are your service animal for mental health. It's a service animal for mental health. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And that's a real thing. So your cat, you can have registered as a service animal because they help you maintain your mental health. So your cat fits into this category of special animals that can go to places that have special exception that other, basic cats wouldn't have. Isn't that fascinating? All right, let me get back to, all right, dear sister Tammy says, my trance dance experience had no mind bending of anything but spirit and the music. So much healing along with other personable experiences. That is when I met some of my ancestors. Yes, that's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you for that, dear. And then dear Soul Schooling says, me too, been home raising and nurturing my babies for the last 14 years. Yes. Yeah, it's like it would have broke my heart to have to pass my kids off to anybody but me to take care of. I mean, I don't even think I would really want I love my mom. I absolutely loved my mom, and she was a wonderful, wonderful mother. But if she was alive by the time I was having, when I was having babies, I may have not even wanted her to take care of them, This is just a deep ingrained in knowing. And there's a lot of mothers that are in that unfortunate situation where they don't have that choice, where it does break their heart when they have to give their kids up to the system like that, to childcare and to, being reared within the school system. So I have deep, deep, deep empathy for those in that position. But there's also many more. I would say the majority actually don't mind it. They really don't. Not if they're really being honest with themselves. They actually don't mind it because they get to go pursue their career, their passion, their status, and still be a mom, and still have that role. All right, dear sister Cameron says, thank you for all of the balance you bring to these talks. Thank you thank you deeply for sharing about the dance and for sharing the point about other entities maybe wanting to feed off trance dance. Yes. Okay, thank you, Carmen, for that. All right, guys, that's a wonderful point to come full circle upon. So if you guys want to check out that research that I was talking about, it's Rise of the Multidimensional Human on the Facebook group, if you're in there. If you're not in that group, you do need to answer all the entry questions to get admittance. If you don't, then you're not going to be admitted, just as how it is. Now, dear Sister Beverly, who is an administrator on that group, she will message you so you know that that's our policy. And if you just talk, if you respond to her back, then you can just get in with us just having contact with you. But if you don't answer the questions, that you're not going to get in, and that goes for everybody that you invite. So make sure you tell everybody who you invite, you got to answer the questions, or else you're not going to be admitted into the group. We do that just to maintain the integrity of the group, to make sure that everybody who wants to be there will be there. Because we've had a few people who were like moles, and that really kind of soiled the environment of the community. It really compromised it. So that's just our way to weed out those that aren't really in the same alignment of thought as we are. And then the secondary way is the Telegram group, which is Multidimensional Human. And that is, of course, on Telegram, completely uncensored. You might feel better joining us on that platform. And we're going to release the invitation to that advanced training in the 9D. This is a 12-week training. So it is a commitment. It is a significant time commitment. There's lots of homework involved. There's lots of follow-up activities involved in that training. You will come out with mastery, though, in how to work with the reweaving of these strands that are weaving your reality. So if you guys are interested in that, just stay tuned, and that's going to be posted soon. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah, mwah. As always, it's wonderful to sit here and chat with you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.